He thought he had it all figured out, a comfortable life, a beautiful wife by his side, and the promise of stability.
But somewhere along the way, he became restless. The allure of something more glamorous, more exciting, crept into his mind, and soon he found himself captivated by a model whose beauty seemed untouchable. At first, it was just harmless admiration, a fleeting thought, but it quickly grew into an obsession that clouded his judgment. The woman who had stood by him through thick and thin, the one who had loved him quietly, patiently, without any pretense, suddenly felt invisible in his eyes. He didn't notice her small sacrifices, her kind gestures, or the warmth of her laughter. All he could see was the model's perfect smile, the spotlight she carried wherever she went, and the intoxicating idea that he could have a life filled with glamour and admiration instead of the steady, simple love he had. But as he began to drift away, leaving behind the woman who truly cared for him, he had no idea that life had a way of turning tables, and that the choice he thought would bring him happiness was about to bring him regret beyond measure. Meanwhile, his wife, heartbroken but unbroken, quietly began to rebuild herself. She didn't chase fame or revenge. Instead, she focused on discovering her own strengths and passions, slowly becoming a force he could never have imagined. He had everything, or so he thought. A loving wife, a comfortable home, and a life that many would envy. But over time, restlessness crept in, whispering doubts about the woman who had always been by his side. He began noticing the people around him, the excitement they carried, and soon he met her, the model. She was dazzling, confident, and everything his wife was not in his eyes. At first, it was admiration, harmless and fleeting, but then he started comparing, criticizing, and ignoring his wife. Her gentle gestures, her small acts of love, went unnoticed. The laughter that once filled their home was replaced by silence, tension, and distance. Friends noticed the change. She tried to reach out, tried to mend what he had begun to break. But he was blind to her pain, seduced by the promise of glamour and admiration. The final moment came when he decided to leave, not with malice, just with a conviction that he deserved something more exciting. Heartbroken and humiliated, his wife watched him walk away, but instead of bitterness, she held her head high, silently preparing herself for a life she would rebuild on her own terms. At first, life with the model seemed perfect. Glamorous parties, exotic trips, endless attention, it was everything he had imagined. But soon cracks began to show. The model's beauty could not mask her demands, her impatience, or her selfish nature. Arguments erupted over small things, her insecurities masked as charm, and the admiration he once thought would satisfy him became hollow. Meanwhile, the wife he had abandoned quietly focused on herself. She explored her talents, learned new skills, and slowly a sense of purpose grew inside her. The contrast became undeniable, one woman thriving in authenticity, the other in superficial glamour. As he tried to navigate this new life, he began to notice that the excitement he had chased was fleeting. The model's attention was fickle, the glamour tiring, and the home he thought would bring satisfaction now felt empty. In those quiet moments, a seed of doubt began to grow, a feeling that perhaps what he had left behind, the love, loyalty, and resilience of his wife, was something far more valuable than he had realized. Heartbreak became her fuel. She didn't seek revenge or fame. Instead, she pursued her passion with unwavering determination. Whether it was starting a business, launching a creative career, or honing a hidden talent, she slowly transformed herself. Confidence replaced sadness, and her efforts began to bear fruit. Recognition followed, first small, then monumental. People admired her, opportunities poured in, and she became a symbol of resilience and success. Meanwhile, the husband watched from the sidelines, unable to undo the choice he had made. The model's charm faded as the wife's star shone brighter. Social media buzzed with admiration for the woman he had discarded, friends and strangers alike celebrating her achievements. Regret washed over him, heavy and unrelenting. Attempts to reconnect fell flat. She had moved beyond the man who undervalued her, thriving in a world where she had proven her worth. The lesson was stark and undeniable. True love and character cannot be replaced by superficial attraction. The wife's triumph became the ultimate reminder that those who are underestimated often rise in ways that leave a lasting mark, while those who take love for granted are left to watch and reflect on the choices they made. And so, in the end, he was left alone with nothing but regret, realizing far too late that beauty and glamour could never replace the depth of love, loyalty, and character he had taken for granted.
The wife he once overlooked had risen above heartbreak, not with anger or revenge, but with grace, determination,
And resilience, becoming a star in her own right. Her success wasn't just in fame or recognition, it was in proving that true strength comes from within, and that those who are underestimated often shine the brightest.
Meanwhile, he learned the hard way that choices driven by superficial desires can lead to irreversible consequences. Life has a way of balancing the scales,
And those who respect and nurture love are the ones who ultimately flourish.
In the quiet reflection of his own mistakes, he could only watch as the woman he replaced lived a life filled with purpose,
Admiration and undeniable triumph. A life he once had the chance to share but lost forever.